Hey there, it's Gary Parrish. Welcome back to the CBS Sports Eye on College Basketball Podcast, where we sometimes discuss camel fighting, dodo birds, and leaky black. The Eye on College Basketball Podcast is presented by Jersey Mike's Subs. Jersey Mike's, a sub above. Matt Norlander is here with me. If you're watching on YouTube, smash the like button, like your Brandon Davies. You have consent. And if you haven't yet subscribed to the CBS Sports College Basketball YouTube channel, please, please, please knock that out while you're here. Let's get into it. What a wild weekend of college basketball we just experienced. It was one buzzer beater after another, after another, after another. I'll try to run you through just ones off the top of my head. Arizona State's Desmond Cambridge buried a buzzer beater from 60 feet away. Got Arizona State past Arizona, 89-88. Florida State's Matthew Cleveland, buzzer beater to lift Florida State past Miami, 85-84. San Diego State's Lamont Butler, buzzer beater, lifts San Diego State past New Mexico, 73-71. 3-game winning jumpers in contest featuring nationally ranked schools. Beyond that, Iowa's Peyton Sandford buried a buzzer beater at the end of regulation to force overtime in what was an eventual 112-106 OT win over Michigan State. And elsewhere in the Big Ten, Michigan's Hunter Dickinson, buzzer beater at the end of regulation to force OT in an eventual 87-79 OT win for the Wolverines over Wisconsin. That's 5 end-of-regulation buzzer beaters that led to victories in high-profile / important games. Tom Izzo did not foul up 3. Greg Gard did not foul up 3. Deadleg, have you caught your breath? We had some nice finishes this weekend.
I am trying to catch my breath. It is, come on now. This is what we're here for.
And I'm really trying to catch my breath. I just got screwed up on the time. I knew we were – for some reason in my head, we were starting at 6:25, it's 6:30 Central as opposed to Eastern. So I was literally outside like playing catch with my 2 little guys. And I was like, dude, UCLA Colorado is almost over. And I think we were supposed to go right after that. What? And I was like, oh no, I got my Eastern Central time zone. But I'm here.
You're here.
Hey.
And we're good to go. Last year on this weekend, remember GP? Like 7 of the top 10 teams got beat. Remember that?
Oh, I remember it like it was yesterday.
We know that's not true. But yet again, huge March vibes. I want to touch on everything that you mentioned there here in this opening segment. There is so much to get to. And I think like line 17, item 17 is Illinois losing. We will get there before the show is done. We will get there. But let's we got to pull up.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to be. If you're watching on YouTube, I don't mean to be smiling at that. Let me get my frowny face on.
Nada, what is for those that are listening after the fact? You can debate this in your own head since you're not voting in real time on YouTube. Nada, what is the poll in the chat? And I see the chat's already on fire to start the show. Always love to see that. What is our poll question to start the show here?
Our poll question is one that you came up with. That was a really, really good one, Norlander. It was, what is the bigger shock? Florida State coming back from 25 at Miami, or 11 points in 55 seconds at home from Iowa?
GP, bigger shock for you is?
Okay. There are wild comebacks over long periods of time all the time. Like
Florida
down
State is
17,
terrible.
comebacks and win. Down 20, came back and won. Like Kansas is down 15 at the half every other game, comes back and wins all of them, sometimes by 30 points. So while recognizing you accurately said it, Florida State is terrible, that is shocking that Miami could blow a 25-point lead to Florida State. But I think, honestly, it's a little crazier when you think about the fact that Michigan State was up 13 with 90 seconds left, up 10 with 40 seconds left, and lost that game. You see people erase 20 and 25-point deficits sometimes. You almost never see down 10 with 40 seconds to go. I mean, the big comeback in a national title game we all remember, 2008 Kansas-Memphis. Kansas was down 9 with little less than 2 minutes to go. This was 10 with 40. It was outrageous.
Ridiculous. And we're going to start there. We do have some good audio to enjoy, a couple of amazing calls that we are going to get to, but we're going to start with the game that ironically did not have the buzzer beater, because Peyton Sandford had, I think, with 2 and change, 3 to go overall. But it starts with, so I get to the HQ studio And I'm watching the way this works, I think, at broadcast as well, is the offices for HQ are on a different floor from the actual studio. So you kind of bounce back and forth. And so I was up in the offices, and it was 91, 81, or whatever the hell it was. And I was like, I literally said out loud to the people like cutting the highlights and the producers and everyone, I was like, all right, there's nothing in the balance here. I'm going to go down to the studio and watch the rest of this and get ready for my hit. Because I said, there's nothing in the balance. So I go down, plug in my computer, get it all booted up. They got the games on the big screen. Awesome experience. The next thing I know, Iowa is within 3. And then like 7 seconds later, Peyton Sanford hits the shot to send it to overtime. Unreal. Malik Hall hit a pair of foul shots with 94 seconds to go. I'm going to run through this for you. Gave Michigan State a 91-78 lead. Also, by the way, shouts to Caitlin Clark. That building had something special going on this entire weekend. Going to absolutely give love to Caitlin Clark. We are not dialed into the women's hoops game on this pod, obviously, but
speak for yourself.
Okay.
If you think I'm not, if I could share my screen right now, you would see Caitlin Clark notes on my screen. Speak for yourself.
Okay. Fair enough. Apparently, Caitlin Clark, by hitting the shot, is conceivably now the front runner for National Player of the Year in women's college basketball. Carver Hawkeye, just name it. You know what? I think we just did it. It should be Clark Sanford Arena. I think that's what it is. Carver Hawkeye is no more. This is Clark Sanford Arena.
Long as you don't name it after that offensive coordinator they got over there in Iowa. That guy
might have some challenges for that, though.
That guy is something else.
Okay, so as GP alluded to, this is super rare. What the Iowa men's team did on Saturday, only the 4th time ever that a team has been down by 11 or more with less than a minute to go and went on to win the game. It's technically the 2nd greatest comeback with less than a minute to go in college hoops history. Layup trivia time. The winner of that is
that the North Carolina or no, the Duke, either Duke Maryland? Is that a game? Did Duke ever play Maryland in basketball?
That's not that game. You want one more guess?
Can you confirm Duke and Maryland have played basketball against each other before?
I can.
Okay. That's the game that popped into my head.
I think that was 9 with like a minute 5 to go, or 10 with like a minute 5 to go. It wasn't 11 or more with under a minute. Happened in the NCAA tournament.
Oh, is that everybody's saying Northern Iowa in the comments. I'm going to go with
correct.
I'm going to go with UNI.
Okay, well,
you lose.
It's Texas A&M that did it, down 12 with 33 seconds to go.
I was trying to discuss it from the other angle.
To Texas A&M, Northern Iowa, 2016 NCAA tournament. That is the probably destined to be the all-time winner of this whole thing, because an outrageous game. Texas A&M overcame it, beat UNI. It went to double OT. This one only went to 1. All right. Iowa's down 11 with 55 seconds to go. It scored 16 points to get it to OT. It made 5 threes in the final 40 seconds to force the bonus session. Michigan State had 5 players with 15 or more points, shot 54% from inside the three-point arc, 73% from three-point range, 86% from the line, and it's not an 86% on 13 attempts. It was 31 of 36 from the foul line. MSU averaged 1.31 points per possession and lost this game. Hit 100 points against a Big Ten opponent for the first time since 2008. Iowa is the same team that lost by 9 at home to Eastern Illinois this season. And it all started with one of the weirdest, rather inappropriate, certainly you would not want to see this again, but if I told you on the Friday pod, listen, I now have the ability to see the future. If that was the case, I wouldn't be here on the Sunday pod, okay? If that was the thing, I'm out of here for good.
Also, you wouldn't be trailing in the final 4-1. You wouldn't be facing what is
That's true.
You wouldn't be facing what is
until Friday.
You wouldn't be facing what some have called an insurmountable deficit for you.
Summer one. Anyway,
it's just me.
Okay.
I'm the only one.
If I said, listen, there's going to be a game this weekend, and a coach is going to be down by like 10 minute and a half to go, and he's going to stare at a referee awkwardly and step to him like he's in a John Wayne Western movie from the 1950s. What coach would that be? The overwhelming choice would be Fran McCaffery. And I have to shout out.
Otherwise known as Kermit Roosevelt Jr.
I mean, I am telling you.
Do you see it at least?
Do you see how it's all connected? No, I do not actually, especially after this. I don't know if Kermit's ever stepping to an official like this. But my goodness. Now, it like, I think you tweeted what a weirdo or something, and that's accurate. But at the same time, I must bow in awe over McCaffrey's Jedi-like influence over this game, this weekend, the rest of the season. I don't know what the hell's happening, but what I do know is Iowa didn't have a chance. He got a tee, he stood down this official, and I'm shouting out Kevin Brown on the play-by-play call. We don't have this audio, but he was talking with Robbie Hummel about something else, and then there was a beat of silence, and then Kevin just perfectly, I was dying laughing at this call. I was losing it, dude. He's like, what is happening here?
Dude, so Fran is just staring at this guy, and then so it's just a stare down, right? But then Fran's like, all right, I'm going to come towards you. And he takes like 2 or 3 steps toward him. And then and this is the part that cracked me up. Then the ref takes 2 or 3 steps. And it's like, what are they about to do? What do they think they're about to do? What a weird, listen, Fran McCaffery's a good basketball coach. In my experiences with him, they've all been pleasant. That is such weird behavior. Like that is so, like I say this as nicely as I can say it. That is weird, man.
You know what it is, though?
You're being too weird.
You know what it looked like, though? One of the HQ anchors on the desk, Russ Taylor, said he's like, that had like MLB umpire vibes. This behavior is normalized in baseball, but in college hoops, it looks pretty damn weird. I agree.
Dude, what are you doing?
I'm not going to get over that.
We always talk about these coaches. I mean, it's all mostly silly, or at least sometimes silly. But we're like these leaders of young men. And then you got to watch one of the young men come over and be like, Coach, come on, stop staring at the referee like a weirdo.
I've never done that in my life. Have you ever done anything remotely like that? Like kind of step to someone's I've never done that. When would I do that?
When would you do that? I no. Like if I'm upset with you, I will either ignore it, let it go, or I'll say something. But just glaring at you for 10 seconds from 5 feet away? No, that's not normal. That's not normal person behavior. That's weird.
If you're listening to the pod, there's almost no chance you missed that over the weekend. But if you did, just search it out and listen to the play-by-play commentary with all of that. Okay, so that being said, that was the most ridiculous ending, given if only the 4th time ever. Every other one we got to hit on off the top here ended in a buzzer beater. So we're gonna give you some sound.
What
didn't?
Technically, Michigan, Wisconsin did not end with a buzzer beater. It was extended by a buzzer beater.
That is correct. We are going to go first out to the desert. This is Tim Healy of the Sun Devil Sports Network on the call. I think this is about 30 seconds long, but it is so worth it. Nada, go ahead.
So the final 2.9 seconds, inbounded to Des Cambridge, launches from backcourt. He made it! He made it! Des Cambridge knocks down a 3 from backcourt, and the Sun Devils have won it! The Sun Devils have won it on a desperation 3-pointer from Des Cambridge! Incredible! Let's go! Nothing but net! From about 60 feet away for Des Cambridge. Oh, my goodness.
Full call. If that happens, I forgot. I had it ready for I'm a Sun Devil.
Look at me. I'm a Sun Devil.
I wanted to play it over the call.
I'm a Sun Devil. Look at me. I'm a Sun Devil.
It seemed to be getting more sensual. Just so we're clear on that. Okay, let's take these game by game. Let's just hit on this one. First of all, if that shot gets made in the NCAA tournament, it's the greatest tournament shot of all time. Okay, that was pure as hell. Nothing but net. It's the first. How about this for a stunner? First time Arizona State as an unranked team ever beat a ranked Arizona team. Had never happened until Saturday. Arizona State now has 6 Pac-12 road wins. Shouts to Doug Tamro, ASU, for this information. It's the first time I got a fat lever reference dropping right now. The last time ASU won 6 Pac-12 road games was 1981 with Fat Lever and Byron Scott.
Yeah, I remember that.
Shouts.
People always remember that as Byron Scott's team, and it's like Fat Lever is not getting enough credit. It's one of the things I've been trying to talk about for years.
I hear you. 9-3 in 2-possession games this season for Arizona State. Quite clearly, we'll get to bubble, the good and the bad of the bubble of the weekend, but Arizona State helped itself better than probably any team given Arizona's standing. Quad 1 win, just huge. And the fact that
they're now 9-8 in the first first 2 quadrants. They got a quadrant 4 loss way a million years ago too, but like that's pretty solid. They are within. They have a chance at an at-large bid, and because the next 2 are UCLA and USC, 2 more quadrant 1 opportunities. I mean, listen, at least one of those, it should be really tough, but they got a shot. Bobby Hurley's got a shot at an at-large bid.
Most impressive thing is that Arizona State induced Arizona into a 6+ minute drought in the second half in Tucson. Extremely impressive. Arizona State has won 10 games away from its home venue this season. It's got a healthy shot. It really, really does. That was a big time game. Any other lingering thoughts on that one before we get to the next one?
Nope. All my thoughts have stopped lingering.
Nada, let's go down to Coral Gables because Florida State, which again is terrible, overcame a 25-point second half deficit and in a thrilling ending with no timeouts called. The call here, I think this is from, I want to get the call. I want to get the credit right beforehand. This is Jeff Culhane of the Seminole Sports Network on Learfield. Let's go.
8.1 to go.
Defensive intensity is at a whole nother level.
Poplar to inbound. Miller comes free. He's wide open for a 3. Makes it. 4.9 to go. Cleveland. He'll launch it at the horn for the win.
Oh my gosh!
It's good. Cleveland buries it at the horn for the win. It's good. Fire up the war chant and plant the spear. Noles win. Noles win. Cleveland does it again. It's all over.
Seminoles, with that win, did you check? Do you want to try and get it within 20 spots at KenPom, or do you know it?
I don't know anything.
Try and guess. Where is Florida State ranked in KenPom after winning this game?
97.
204.
God, what are they doing way down there? What are they think they're Louisville or something?
I thought the play-by-play guy was going to give us a Cleveland. This is for you. Little LeBron James.
Because power conference teams don't usually get that low.
That is why there is a real case that FSU doing it on the road against conceivably, who the hell knows after this weekend? We see you, Pitt, and we will get there. Doing this at Miami, down 25. What the hell do you have anything to play for? Miami first of all, had not lost at home this season, was in the pole position to get the 1 seed in the ACC, had won 7 straight games. Florida State has a lost season. Cleveland. And that frenzied finish. Miami takes the lead, then FSU gets it. The game actually has consequence for Miami seeding, obviously. Devastating loss. If Arizona State maybe got the best win of the weekend, maybe Miami had the worst loss.
That's like a quad 7 loss.
It's Q7. Rarely discussed.
We're going to put that in quad 7.
That's a tough one. That's a really, 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 really tough one for Jim Larinaga and his Hurricanes. So if you think that the shock value is greater on that one, hey, I'm not going to fight with you. I hear you on that the whole way. Nada, before I don't want to cue you. Do you have? I sent you the other stuff. You've got the other 2 ready to go. You got what happened in the pit on Saturday. You mean to tell me you have that? Let's see it right now. Okay, maybe not.
Try to get the ball to Bradley if you can. Go to the rim now. You're up top.
4 to go. Butler.
Go to the rim.
2 to go. Butler has to put it up for the win. Butler sinks it at the buzzer. And he is mobbed by his team.
I mean, I was watching this live.
Okay.
They let him just walk right into it. I mean, what were they doing? He just walked right into a buzzer-beating three.
That was Lamont Butler. First of all, flawless production for us. Hey, we're trying some stuff new as we head into March here. So Lamont Butler, after the game, said, quote, "I got the ball. Nate set a crack screen at half court. I was supposed to go downhill and get to the rim, but it was kind of clogged up. I lost it a little bit. I looked up and saw 2 seconds on the clock, and I knew I had to shoot it, and it went in." He looked like a bad mofo when that thing went in, man. And that got Arizona State to 23-5. 9-5 in quad 1, quad 2, no bad losses. New Mexico lost 7 of 9 after a 14-0 start. It's going to Oliver Purnell this thing, GP. It's going to do it. Not in the tournament field, and its bubble case right now is especially weak. Congrats to San Diego State. It's going to be the third time in 4 years it will claim a regular season Mountain West title. That one happened late. That one was for the real ones. If you started this pod and were unaware of it, yes, yet another incredible ending. Thoughts on Tex over Lobos?
My Aztecs are terrific.
Ranked where? In your poll?
It's not a poll.
Okay.
I hate it when people call it a poll.
Fair enough. You know what? It's a poll of one, so fair enough. I didn't want to say rank where in your rankings, even though that would have been more accurate.
I got them 12th, so they're going to win the Mountain West. And, like if you start, I know you know how to sort data. I know you know how to sort the data over at BlackHorrick.com. You start sorting data for like the last month, past 6 weeks. San Diego State's one of the best teams in the country. I like them. I think they're winning multiple games in the NCAA tournament.
So you got the Mountain West getting the team to the Sweet 16 after not getting to win it a year ago.
Yeah, what's the thing I promised the other day? I would take Texas A&M in their first round game. I'm
no
going to make
matter
another
the opponent. Yep. Okay, someone brought up what if they faced NC State? You're in a real pickle there, but you got no choice.
Yeah, okay.
It's A&M.
I'm making 2 promises. Bracket comes out. I'm taking A&M in their first round game no matter what. And I'm taking San Diego State to the Sweet 16 no matter what.
No matter what?
Or what? What do I care?
That's fine. On a certain level, really, what do you care?
Yeah, like that. I mean that sincerely. What do I care? It's just a bracket. Who cares?
I know. No,
except every once in a while, somebody. This happened as recently as a week ago. Somebody came up to me and said, "GP, you owe me some money," and I'm like, "I might. Like for what? I'll Venmo you."
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, like just tell me how much and text me your Venmo. I can't keep track of everything.
Again, this is the same man who claims to be an extortion expert, but go ahead.
Yeah. If you just tell me I owe you money from something, I'll just believe you. I don't know. I can't keep track of things. So this person, she was like, GP, you owe me money. And I was like, what do I owe you money for? And she was like, because last year I used your bracket and it was awful. And I was like, well, then don't do that. I never told you my bracket would be good.
Problematic.
It's a tough situation. San Diego State's in the Sweet 16 though, no matter what. I think that's the point I was trying to make.
That will be interesting to see because you're going to do it, how you put them in there, and then for 4
I
straight days,
want to sort some data for you real quick.
I have to explain this pick, and I guarantee you won't say this on the pod. Although maybe you will by like Tuesday, as you would say it, by Tuesday afternoon. You're gonna get onto this StreamYard with me, and before we hop on a real pod, you're like, I am so damn sick and tired of explaining why I got San Diego State in the Sweet 16. I can already see it coming. No. I can already see it coming. You got anything else, or can we talk
San Diego State? If you sort the data from the past month, come on.
You just did this. They're like number 6 in the country or whatever, I thought. Do you need me to sort the data for you right now?
I think BartTorvik.com is in San Diego State number
data.
Hey, from January 26th to February 26th, second best team in the country according to BartTorvik.com is San Diego State. Who's number 1?
Gonzaga.
The Zags. That's right.
How about that? We'll get to the Zags before we're out of here. We have a loaded show. Okay. It's just a jam-packed stuff weekend. We thought we were going to start with just those buzzer beaters. We had one more that didn't win the game, but extended it. Nada. What did Hunter Dickinson do on Sunday on CBS?
Williams up top. Dickinson, dangerous pass. Dickinson at the horn. It's good! He got it!
That's the man, Andrew Catalan, on the mic. A couple things off that. One, I feel like they gave him about 6.5 seconds to put the inbound on the ball. I feel like there could have been a 5-second call there, whatever. Two, that is so dad in the driveway release from Dickinson there, right? Just the form on it, pure, extends it. Big time win, GP, for Michigan. Big one here.
And big time loss for Wisconsin.
It is.
These are two Big Ten teams, big brands hanging around the bubble. Sort of just occurred to me as I was watching it. These two coaching staffs fought last year.
This just occurred to you? I figured that was a lingering subplot to anyone watching the game for more than 2 hours.
Yeah, a year ago they were just slapping each other, so that was wild. Greg Gard, in fairness to Greg Gard, he did say afterwards, we were trying to foul up 3. We just didn't foul hard enough, I guess. So they, leading up to the Hunter Dickinson thing. So Michigan State did not foul up 3, lost in overtime. Wisconsin tried to foul up 3, but didn't get it done, lost in overtime. It's a big weekend for the foul up 3 club.
It is, although it's not, if it was 100%, everyone would do it. It's not. I am a fan of foul up 3 under 6. Now, Wisconsin was in a really tricky spot. Michigan passing out of the corner, defended it well. Again, I think that was more than 5 seconds. So it goes, especially on in a road venue. And then it's going to be an almost immediate shot. So you don't want to foul and put them on the line. So I get it. But they did try and get it before it got to that point. Michigan has now won 3 in a row, has not won 4 straight games yet this season. Shouts to Kobe Buffkin. Looks like a pro to me. He had a career-high 28 points in this one. Dickinson had his 11th double-double of this season. Michigan is still alive. Both of those teams feel like they will be you just got to watch them when we get to the Big Ten tournament, because at least one, if not 2 games will be, win it, get on the right side, lose, you might be out. So there's plenty of intrigue around both the Badgers, the Badgers, and the Wolverines. But a good one there, Dickinson, an unlikely candidate to hit a shot, particularly how he got that ball in his hands and where he shot it from and how it went in. But he got it done, and all the March vibes this weekend, all of them. It's still technically February, but March, for all intents and purposes, is here.
Hunter Dickinson did indicate after the game that he is planning to come back to Michigan next season, which I guess is he's such a good college basketball player. I guess it's a reasonable thing to wonder about, but there's really nowhere for him to go as it pertains to he could enter the NBA draft. I don't think he's getting picked. So I always assumed he'd come back to Michigan, and he seemed to suggest earlier today that is his intention. So if it was a good weekend for the foul up 3 people, was it also a good weekend for the don't advance the ball after a timeout people? Because some of these plays quite literally could not have happened the way that they unfolded if we took a timeout and advanced the ball the way they do in the NBA and in women's college basketball.
Yeah, Caitlin Clark got her buzzer beater because they advanced the ball.
That's exactly my point.
I actually talked about this with Rick Pitino when I was interviewing from the other story. Pitino is a fan of advancing the ball, given his NBA background and coaching over in Greece as well. But I said, no, and actually it was a funny moment. I wish it could have been captured on video. I got to talking about why, and I was like, you don't have this shot. You don't have this shot. And I was like, and you don't have 92. And he laughed because, Kentucky, Leitner, all
yeah,
that
there's
stuff.
nobody who wants to just advance the ball more than Rick Pitino.
I know.
you didn't know you were walking right into that?
I didn't realize I was turning down that street until I had already turned down that street. But he laughed and he's had fun at his own expense over that as well. But does it always end in a made shot? No. In fact, I would actually argue the fact that it doesn't have an ultra high success rate. It gives us Jenkins. It gives us Leitner. It gives us Paul Jesperson in the tournament for A&M and Northern Iowa. So I like
Drew.
Yes. It's just there's so many of them, and they're indelible moments, and so I just prefer the frenzy of that, and make a play happen.
I'm actually advanced. I'm team advanced the ball. I know Mike DeCourcy's going to kill me.
I know. No, I like not advancing it. Yeah.
I know Mike DeCourcy is very disappointed in me right now. I don't feel strongly about it.
DeCourcy money, by the way, just so we're clear on that.
I can Venmo Mike, no problem. I don't feel strongly about it. I'm not gonna spend 30 minutes debating it on Twitter with Mike. But I think whatever you lose from not advancing the ball, which is like the possibility of the Christian Laettner shot, the possibility of Lamont Butler, the possibility of Bryce Drew, Tyus Edney, you name it. Whatever you lose from not advancing the ball, by advancing the ball, you gain more reasonable potential game tying and game winning situations than you otherwise would have. Because for every don't advance the ball ends with the buzzer beater thing we saw this weekend, the truth is, more often than not, by not advancing the ball with 2.2 seconds left, it's nothing. It's just a throw that goes nowhere or a two dribble heave. Whereas if you advance the ball, you can at least get the type of look Caitlin Clark got today, the type of look you see in the NBA every single night. So I would be willing to sacrifice the end-to-end possibility, because they're very rare. I would be willing to sacrifice that for, hey, if there's 1.2 on the clock, 1.7 on the clock, 2.1 on the clock, you advance the ball. We're going to get a real basketball situation at the buzzer here. I prefer that over the other, because we get those. Like, we get real basketball situations with makeable and reasonable shots by advancing the ball. And so often by not advancing the ball, we don't even get real plays. It's just they're things that go nowhere.
Agreed. Someone corrected me rightfully in the chat. The Jesperson shot versus Texas, not Texas A&M. But yeah, I do like. I think it is a feature, not a bug, of college hoops, and we got more of that. A nice little tune-up. It's actually been, it's been a minute. I think Suggs is, again, you don't get Jalen Suggs, just like an all-time moment. I think Suggs is the last buzzer beater in the tournament. I think if anyone in the live chat wants to fact check me in real time, please do. But I think Suggs was the last time we had a buzzer beater to win a game.
Shall we move on?
Let's do it.
You're not going to believe who was making headlines again this weekend. His name is Brandon Miller. He plays for Alabama. We'll get to that next. First, a word from our partners.
Let's go. You can feel the madness.
So, Brandon Miller played for Alabama on Saturday. It was his first home game since police testimony connected him to a murder, an alleged murder, a 100% killing last month. And his pregame ritual during lineup announcements got a lot of attention. I think at this point, if you're the type of person who listens to a college basketball podcast live, you've probably seen it. Norlander, you wrote about it. I'll let you walk folks through it.
Sure. Yeah, I did wind up filing a column late on Saturday because, frankly, it seemed justified to do so. I wasn't exactly eager to have to write about this situation after having talked about it multiple times with you on the pod and then on HQ, obviously, as well. But, and I actually had noticed this previously, and I thought that it was going to end. So, yeah, it's not an uncommon thing. Brandon Miller gets introduced, and then someone at the end of the introduction line is just, patting him down, pantomiming, just checking you for nefarious paraphernalia, or checking you, or a weapons check. And this often not, or just a general check your body as they do in MMA. This is not uncommon. And as I wrote in the column, if it's another player on another team, it's just cheeky and innocuous. But it is so tone deaf if you are Brandon Miller. And so it rightfully got attention. It is a bad reflection on the program, on Oates, on the AD, on basically anyone with Alabama basketball. There was a lot of, he's been doing this all season. That's the point. It makes it worse. He's been doing this since the killing happened, and he did it on the road at South Carolina. Now, also, this is not something that is normally put on social media. It's not on the broadcast. So unless you are attending these Alabama games, for the most part, you are not privy to it. It was also this very act until Sunday morning was also Brandon Miller's Twitter header. Like the actual act of his pregame introduction there, it just does not reflect well upon Alabama's program. And so as I wrote, this is why, going back to what Oates and the university have not done to this point, and as I pointed out in the column, on January 16th, when Oates had a 6-minute press conference and he was actually asked whether there any other players involved, he artfully dodged answering the question truthfully and to the point where it was asked. He just simply said it's an ongoing investigation. The rest of the team is met and we're all available to play Tuesday night in Nashville. They were going to get ready to play at Vanderbilt. So it was a tone-deaf thing. I'm not going to make a mountain out of a molehill, but this is no small thing either. I mean, imagine if you are the friends and family of Jamia Harris and you see this and you see it continue to happen. Like it's insensitive, if not offensive. It just is. And I did see some folks finally who might have been just straddling the line a little bit being like, well, what do you want me to say now? Like that this even happened and no one picked up or noticed it. Oates himself, let me read the quote and then GP, it's yours to take away. I don't really have too much to add other than this. We'll put the column in the podcast description if you want to read it. Oates said, before I get started on the game, it was brought to my attention after the game about our pregame introductions. Think that's something that's been going on all year. I don't really know. I don't watch our introductions. I'm drawing up plays during that time. Regardless, it's not appropriate. It's been addressed, and I can assure you it will not happen again the remainder of this year. And quote, the fact that no one even realized this or got to Oates before this, it is a bad look, and it is because of this, because Alabama found a way to take a very flammable story and even through one small thing, make it worse, is why we are where we are with this moving forward. And, you know, the attention on this story will not be dying down, even as though there's going to be big games and the March is here. This is going to be on the rail right alongside every single time Alabama plays, and Brandon Miller and Jaden Bradley are in the starting lineup.
To that point, and then we'll get back to this. I remember when Bruce Pearl got fired at Tennessee, and I'm not suggesting Nate Oates is going to get fired at Alabama. I mean, I guess there's a scenario where some things play out a certain way and they got real issues, but I'm certainly not predicting that. My point is this. If you remember the first time Bruce Pearl had to address the barbecue and lying about it, Tennessee was right there. The athletic director, Mike Hamilton, they're right there beside him. And they're like, Bruce is our coach. He made a mistake, but Bruce is our coach. And if you talk to that staff, Tony Jones, Steve Forbes, Jason Shea, what they will tell you is that from that point forward, every time they played on television, it didn't matter if this player was going for, I don't remember who was on the team, but Tobias Harris has got 28 points. It didn't. Every game they were talking about the barbecue and Bruce Pearl and Aaron Kraft and lied to the NCAA. And it became such a drum that was just getting banged on every time they played on national TV that by the end of it, they knew they couldn't survive it, because it was just like people were screaming, this guy lied to the NCAA. He has to go. That is the way this Alabama story is going to be. Not in the sense that it's going to lead to people getting fired. I'm not predicting that. My point, it's never going away. Like, this is going to get banged on. Like, ESPN had the graphic on Saturday, and it's like, here's a timeline of everything. It's like January 15th, boom, boom, boom. It's like, here's that graphic is saved and ready to go again next Alabama game. So this is not going to become a smaller story. It's going to become a bigger story. And it obviously got taken to a new level of attention on Saturday because of this pregame ritual. Now, obviously, let's state the facts. It is a fact that he has been doing this, if not the entire season, much of the season. He didn't just break it out on Saturday. It could also be interpreted, I'm just trying to be fair here, multiple ways. Sure, like a pat down if you're going into a club, or if you get pulled aside for random TSA screening, or if you're an MMA fighter walking into the octagon, right? It could be it could be tied to any of those things. And I do sincerely believe that it was probably at its origin just innocent.
I do believe this as well.
Yeah, it's just innocent, young people being young. I can remember playing baseball in high school, and we had these little stupid things that we would do, right? And I'm not that this is stupid, but whatever it is what it is. Harmless, just like you said. If a Purdue player did it on Saturday, nobody would notice, nobody would care, right? But when a player who we found out earlier in the week does it, We found out earlier in the week that he drove a gun to a scene where it was used to kill a 23-year-old woman. You don't need to be doing anything that even remotely looks like maybe, just maybe, one of your teammates is patting you down to see if you're carrying a gun. The optics on it are terrible. And just in the spirit of trying to be fair, I can believe that Nate Oates had not even noticed it, if only because coaches are typically not paying attention to player introductions. And maybe Nate isn't the type that's noticing every single thing that's going on in his program. Maybe that's
it's also logical and fair to say and presume that Nate Oates wouldn't be like, yeah, let's keep that going.
Yeah, no,
I saw what you did there. Let's keep that going. That did not happen.
Right. So somebody, to your point, somebody should have noticed this. Somebody should have noticed this and said, hey, I don't know what you mean by that. I don't know when you started doing it, but like, yo, man, it just came out on Tuesday that you drove a gun to a scene where it was used to kill a mom. Even if your walk-on teammate isn't technically patting you down, it can be interpreted that way. And by the internet, it will be interpreted that way. So let's just stay away from it. Like, imagine if, I don't know, nameless basketball player, because I don't even want to put any sort of face, just nameless college basketball player. And he's a prominent player. And every time he makes a 3-pointer, he goes and acts like he's chugging a beer and then smashes the can, right? I know that's stupid, but you'll get the point.
I think this was what you were doing. This was your pregame introduction back in high school baseball.
I would fake smash a beer. So like a guy hits a 3 and then he chugs and then he smashes a can and throws it down, and now he's back on defense. Been doing that for years. On Tuesday, he gets charged with DUI. On Saturday, you can't do that anymore, right? Because the optics are terrible.
Yep. I mean, he would not be playing theoretically on Saturday, but the point is taken.
You get the point. Like, yo, man, your beer celebration was fine up until you got arrested for DUI on Tuesday. You can't do that anymore. It doesn't look good anymore. It's not funny anymore. Same thing with Brandon Miller. And before somebody says it, yes, I know he didn't get arrested, but he did drive a gun to a scene where it was used to kill a woman. That is forever going to be a fact. You're never going to get around that. Most people, best I can tell, don't believe he should be playing basketball right now. And what happened Saturday, because I think earlier I said made it worse. I don't know that it made it worse. It just made it brighter. And just like here's the thing. I didn't plan on tweeting a word about Brandon Miller on Saturday. And I bet a bunch of people weren't either. But boy, when that video started circulating, and then when Nate Oates was asked about it, or even Nate talking about it before he was asked about it, it just, boom, it became one of the biggest stories of Saturday's college basketball schedule. And so where do we go from here? They got 2 more regular season games, 1 at home, 1 on the road. The road game is going to be nasty, I would assume, for Brandon Miller. Like, he is. I had a coach text me on Friday night. I think it was, Friday night. And let me ask you this, and be honest with me, because I haven't asked you this off the air.
Okay.
Has anybody in the sport of college basketball reached out to you and defended Alabama or Nate Oates?
Has not happened. I've heard from a couple of NBA scouts who have been at the past 2 games, and they have expressed an internal conflict over what they're watching from a player by the circumstances that surround what's happening with the program right now.
I haven't had anybody reach out to say, hey, GP, like, maybe back it up a little bit. Here's the thing you don't understand. Here's the thing you might not know. Here's the thing Nate didn't know. Nobody. So I had a coach on Friday night text me, and he was just like, hey, I just, read everything you wrote and listened to everything you've said, and just wanted to, tell you I appreciate it. I'm not saying this for any other reason than I'm about to make a point. He said, just for being honest about this and keeping it real. And I said, thanks. And I said, just by the way, like, what do you think about this? And this guy said, he has 13 scholarship players, and at least 3 of them were at the scene of a murder. And the only one not playing is the one that's in jail, charged with capital murder. What are we talking about? This is so out of bounds as it pertains to any sort of normal standard of how a school would handle a high-profile situation like this. I think people in Alabama are so in a bubble about this that they don't quite grasp how crazy this is to just be playing without interruption, whatever. And the thing I would say to Alabama fans is the same thing I would say to any other fan base when you get lost in this moment because you're too close to it. Pretend this wasn't Brandon Miller. Pretend it was Wendell Green. Exact same set of circumstances, but it's Auburn's Wendell Green instead of Alabama's Brandon Miller. If you're an Alabama fan out there tweeting me or Norland or anybody else about this, trying to rationalize this crazy situation, think about, would you send that tweet if it was Wendell Green instead of Brandon Miller? And if the answer is no, if the answer is yes, no, rather, then you're proving my point. You only think this is misunderstood because it involves your school or alma mater or favorite team. The only people misunderstanding this are the people trying to rationalize Brandon Miller's role in this or Alabama's decision-making in this. I'm not here to argue exactly what the punishment should be. I'm simply making this point. Brandon Miller undeniably was driving around Tuscaloosa with a loaded gun in his car. He took it to a scene that was used to kill a woman. If that doesn't violate some rule, policy, or standard of your program, that's insanity. It should just be a rule. If you are ever caught driving around with a loaded weapon after midnight and then that weapon is used to kill a woman, you can't play basketball next game, and we'll figure out what happens after that. And the idea that Alabama hadn't gone there it's crazy to everybody outside of Alabama. And in fairness, crazy to a lot of people inside Alabama. Joe Goodman, who's a columnist there, has been great on this subject. Speaking from experience, it is not always easy to be the local guy coming down hard on the local university because it's easy for me and you, Pat Forty, Dan Wetzel, to come down hard on this situation because our audience is, it's people in Alabama, but it's people in Alaska. It's people everywhere. But when you are a columnist in Alabama, your audience is Alabama. And to tell those people your school is way out of line here, that's not always easy. But Joe Goodman has done a really good job with it. And again, the only people who are trying to rationalize this or justify it are people who are blinded by the type of things that too often blinds sports fans.
Yeah, we would much preferred, frankly, this not to generate a headline, but it did, and it was a major one at that. There are a lot of other games to get to, so I'll swerve us into that lane. Before we get to a litany of stuff that I feel deserves mention, I'm thinking you want to at least home in on one more standalone game that went down in Mackey and was, somewhat surprising. If I told you I could look into the future, again, I wouldn't be here and I wouldn't be trailing in the Final Four and 1. But if I told you that on Friday, Trace Jackson Davis was going to go for 10-8 and have 4 fouls at Mackey Arena, you'd be like, Purdue's winning that game by at least 8 to 10 points. Nah, son. That's not what happened. Indiana swept Purdue. And in the process, I think it actually made Purdue's 1-seed case shaky for the first time this season. I'm not saying Purdue won't wind up with a 1, but when you look at what it has not done in the past 3 weeks, 4 of its 5 losses have come in February. 3 of the past 4 games, the only one is a home win over Ohio State. Indiana won 79-71. What stood out to the game about you?
Jalen Hood-Schifino went for 35 points on the road against a projected number 1 seed. I don't know if you saw this floating around on Twitter, but he became the only Division I freshman in the past 25 years to score 35-plus points on the road against an AP top 5 opponent. I'll never forget the day I discovered him.
I've already forgotten it.
Feel like it was a Monday afternoon. Went to see Team Thad practice. And by this time, sure, Jalen Hood-Schifino was a top 50 national recruit. I still think I discovered him.
Listen, you ride that wave because right now it's a wave that is cresting 35-7 and made, if you watch the game play out multiple times, IU shot 52% inside the arc. Kopp and Galloway got involved as well. And to me, it signaled Final Four potential. I said this on HQ. Indiana, you have to consider it has Final Four potential. I know it hasn't won like 5 in a row. It's been actually a little bit up and down, win-loss recently. But it's 20-9. Final 2 home games now against Iowa and Michigan. Hoosiers are a 4 seed, it feels. Purdue, meantime, and we did have a few folks actually like mention us on the tweet machine just to bring this up. And so I will, because it is a valid point. Although I'm still kind of like loving this. Everyone, go ahead, fade Purdue. I still might put him. I'm not going GP with A&M or San Diego State. I'm not putting Purdue at Final Four at all costs. I'm not doing that to myself. But Purdue last beat a top 30 team at KenPom at the end of January. It's been a while. And in terms of a ranked team, it's been even longer. So yeah, we do have Purdue's still going to win the Big Ten. Northwestern, we'll get to them in a second. But I've seen Indiana play now 4 or 5 times in winning efforts where when the game ends, I'm thinking if that team gets matched up against almost anyone in an NCAA tournament setting and plays that way, like almost nobody is beating Indiana. So if you're a Hoosiers fan, I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again on the pod. Like you have such reason for optimism for this group to get it together and string at least a couple of wins in the tournament because you have 2 alphas. Like Trace and Hood Schifino are both, if they combine forces, look out, but they are both single-handedly capable of lifting your team to wins over legitimate opponents, and that's exactly what we saw in a hostile environment against a Purdue team. Like, Purdue wasn't lethargical. Indiana won the damn game. It kicked Purdue's ass. It won the game definitively. So, big-time stuff from Mike Woodson and the Hoosiers. They are for real. Yes, they are gettable. Not going to deny that at all. Indiana, we could be talking about them 4 weeks from now, GP, and they get upset in the first round and just saying like, this is this tournament. This is this season. We have seen this so many times like this. We shouldn't be stunned by this because we've seen how so many of these teams that have been top 5, 10, 15, 20 level have been susceptible. Maybe that'll happen, but I'm not going to bank on it. I will tell you this, guaranteed no matter what, I will put Indiana at least in the second round.
Oh, wow. You mean to tell me you're going to put the projected preseason Big Ten champs in the second round of the NCAA tournament?
That was like I was cooking. I was on like a personal like 11-0 run, and I just got the ball on a breakaway. And you think I'm going to slam it? Instead, I just stopped short, and I just cashed in like a 4-foot jumper.
Well, I had this perfect Brandon Miller Wendell Green clip ready for Nada and chopped it up, and then I just got all confused about which way I was trying to say it at the end. I found this was like a blown layup. It's like, yo, you got to the rim. You just missed the layup. These live podcasts. God knows that we were recording. We'd stop there, go back. Let me pick up. Trivia time.
All right, here we go.
When's the last time Purdue beat a team that is currently ranked in the AP poll? As of Sunday night.
Someone told us. I know it. So this doesn't count because I learned it within the past like 4 hours. It was Ohio State like the first week of January or some absolute nonsense. Is that what it is?
Ohio State is not currently ranked. I
don't
know if you've watched Ohio State lately. No, they're not currently ranked.
That's not what I'm saying. I thought the question was, I thought the last time they beat a team and at the time that they won the game, the team was ranked
team. They're in the AP poll as of Sunday night, February 26th.
Say the question again. Say it again.
Trivia time.
Here we go.
When is the last time Purdue got a win over a team that is currently ranked in the AP Top 25 poll as of February 26, 2023?
I don't believe Michigan State is ranked because that's the first team that comes to mind.
Yeah, they're not ranked.
And if it ain't Michigan State, it's not Ohio. Are you sure it's not Ohio State? We're getting there, Illinois. Oh, boy. All right, so this one I don't know then because I think the last time they beat a ranked team when the team was ranked at the time of the game was Ohio State. This is a different question. I will say, is there anyone they played in? It feels like a setup. Wait a second. Duke's not even ranked. Has it happened? Is this a trick question?
No, they've beaten 2 currently ranked teams all season.
Give me a hint.
Both teams this weekend became conference champions.
Okay. Currently ranked. They did beat Marquette. Is that the answer?
That's not the answer, but they did beat Marquette. That's one of the ranked teams. They currently ranked teams they've beaten this season.
All right, give it to me. I'm not going to get it.
Gonzaga, November 25th.
Come on, man.
Purdue hasn't beaten a currently ranked team in the AP poll since November 25th. It's been 3 months.
Problem.
They're not good. No, we're not saying they're not good. We're just saying that's something worth pointing out. Now, in fairness to them, it is possible Maryland moves into the AP poll on Monday, and then that date gets moved up to January 22nd because they beat Maryland on January 22nd. But as of this moment, it's November 25th, Gonzaga.
They need to be saved. Okay. On that note, I think we touched on all this. Man, 55 minutes in and we got more to get to. I didn't check this morning. Carolina still got a quad 1 win. Did that change overnight?
Carolina owns a quadrant 1 win over Virginia, but there is a scenario where that could change in time, because right now Virginia is 28th in the net. Oh, this is going to be so good. Okay, let's map this out. What do we need to happen here? We need Virginia to lose. Oh God. Virginia closes with.
Let me guess. I'm going to say, because of the way you said, I will blindly say the way you said that is Louisville and Florida State in some order.
It's Louisville and Clemson both at JPJ.
Oh yeah, I know Clemson. Yeah.
They're not going to lose those games, are they?
If they drop to Louisville, that's going to become a quad 3 win. Okay.
Because losing to Louisville is a quad 17 loss.
Yeah.
It's hard to recover from that. And we also made a rule already that you can't lose to Louisville and go to the NCAA tournament. So that would eliminate them. That would eliminate them from the bracket. So big game for Virginia coming up on Tuesday. But if they were to lose it, or how about this? If they were just to not perform well, they could still slip out of the top 30, and then Carolina back at 0 quadrant 1 wins.
It's funny how these things happen, though. Baycott went for 11-6 in that game, had 3 turnovers and 4 fouls. If I told you that was the case, you would have been like, they're not winning. But RJ Davis had 16 and 10. That's 10 rebounds for guard RJ Davis. Pete Nance had 22. Apparently, Hubert Davis gave him a pack of lemon Oreos and he housed it. I actually have not read the story yet, but that's a great little detail get there. I forget the reporter who got it, but shouts to you. I did see it passed along, and I want to properly credit it. In fact, I will before the podcast is over. Lemon Oreos. Who'd have thought? I thought it was more about Virginia than Carolina, though. I mean, yes, UNC remains like the buzziest bubble team, but Virginia just going back to the end of the Duke game, and it won, but it has just been it won the game, but since that moment, essentially, like, it could have easily lost, and it's been shaky since. But credit to Carolina, it got to win. It's still in the mix. A loss there, and they're done. What else around the weekend piqued your interest?
Well, ACC now has 0 teams in the top 30 at KenPom, so that's a problem.
I'm pretty sure that's a first, by the way. To be in
this deep in February and have 0 top 30 teams. I mean, honestly, either Duke, Carolina, or Virginia is always top 30. They're often all top 30.
They're usually top 10.
Right.
So yes, this has never happened.
Kansas is sitting alone atop the Big 12 standings after beating West Virginia, while Texas lost at Baylor. So the Jayhawks are now just a win away from what would be Bill Self's 17th Big 12 title in 20 years at KU. Check this out. And we've talked about this before, so we don't need to hammer it home, but it's interesting. Mike Krzyzewski coached Duke for 42 years. He is widely considered the GOAT of college basketball coaching. And he won 13 ACC regular season titles. 13. Mike Krzyzewski, 13 conference titles in 42 years at Duke. Bill Self is about to be 17 conference titles in 20 years at Kansas. Less than half the time and 4 more conference championships than the guy who is considered the GOAT. And it's not like John Calipari doing this in Conference USA or Mark Few doing this in the West Coast Conference. This is the freaking Big 12. And Bill Self is about to go 17 of 20 Big 12 titles.
What are we even talking about here?
What are we talking about here? Oh, by the way, I'm ready to update it. I think if I got to turn in the ballot right now, Bill Self's my National Coach of the Year. Lost 6 of his top 8 scores, including 2 first-round draft picks, and now he's sitting here with 5 more quadrant 1 wins than anybody else, a total of 15, projected as a number 1 seed, really is just 1 more win or 1 more Texas loss away from an outright Big 12 title, which would be his 13th in 20 years. Right now, Bill Self's my Coach of the Year.
I agree with you. I'd have Shaka Smart sitting at that table. I'd have Kelvin Sampson, and I would have Mick Cronin. Hello, UCLA, first outright Pac-12 regular season title in 10 years, thanks to the win on the road on Sunday on CBS. You mentioned the Zags, 11 straight WCC title, right?
That's
or at
right.
least a share of it.
Stayed up late to watch that one.
Yep, they got it done, and they're the 2 seed in the WCC tournament because they're behind St. Mary's by 2 spots in the net rankings. There you have it. I got some stuff here, but are there any other results you want to bring up first?
Well, we already mentioned Marquette secured a share of the Big East title. Got a win over DePaul. Now, this week,
my second coach. What about you? Off top of your head, I think Shaka Smart should be number 2 behind Self right now heading into March.
I agree with you. I agree with you. It would be my ballot would be Bill Self 1, Shaka Smart 2. Marquette picked 9th, the preseason Big East poll. Now just has to beat Butler or St. John's this week. Probably do both, but just got to do one of those. And Marquette will be outright Big East champions for the first time in school history. By the way, both Butler and St. John's sub-90 net teams. Marquette hasn't lost to a sub-90 net team all year. So all Marquette has to do is avoid something twice this week that it's avoided all year, or really just avoid it once this week. You just can't lose them both. They're going to be outright Big East champions. So that's quite the story. Or, Xavier Providence could lose a game this week and you're outright. True. Marquette's going to be your outright Big East champions, first time in school history. Go ahead and book it. UCLA, first league title since 2013, beat Colorado on America's Most Watched Network on Sunday afternoon. That combined, I think the Arizona loss made it where UCLA already now has the outright Pac-12 title. So Mick Cronin further solidifies himself as the greatest coach in UCLA history.
There's no debate for me whatsoever. That has been well established, and we thank the listeners, by the way, to continue to spread the gospel of Cronin in Westwood and the greatest ever there.
Yeah, I saw somebody on Twitter. They were like, "Is Gary Parrish serious when he says Mick Cronin is the greatest coach in UCLA history?" Look at me.
It's not funny. Okay.
Do I look serious? Can I say it any more seriously than this? John Wooden had an amazing career. He won championships even, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But when you start really tearing through the numbers and just applying common sense, it's impossible not to reach the conclusion that Mick Cronin is the greatest coach in UCLA history. Was that serious enough for you?
Stop joking around on it, guys. It's not funny.
It's not funny.
All right.
This is not jokey time. This is not jokey time.
Serious matter. All right. Here's what I got. Quick bubble stuff. The good, Carolina, Arizona State, Michigan. We touched on them. Clemson, 96-71 at NC State. Mammoth victory. Do you know who had a game-high 28 points in that game? Your balls are showing. Brevin Galloway. A man from swollen balls to dropping 28 and a gotta have a bubble game on the road in Raleigh? Pod legend. Are you kidding me?
I forgot about it.
Yeah. That's why I'm here for you, buddy. That's right.
My dude scored 28 3 weeks after his balls exploded.
Game high 28 and statistically one of the best wins in Clemson history in ACC play. Just 96-71. NC State's a tournament team. Clemson revived its tournament dossier with that kind of win.
The fluid back up, if I remember correctly.
Listen, we don't know that to be the case. It's a potential scenario.
Yeah, it's one of the options.
It is one of the options. Pitt is in first in the ACC. It won 99-82, and it made 16 threes in the game. It's now made 274 triples this season. That is a single-season program record, and we have many, many games to go. More bubble team wins. Mississippi State beat A&M 69-62. Bulldogs putting themselves in position. USC just won its 4th in a row, got the mountain sweep over Utah and Colorado. And also, not to be overlooked, Nevada Won at Fresno State on Friday night to help the Mountain West cause there. But on the flip side, Boise State did lose at San Jose State. Tim Miles, we see you. What he'll be highlighted in this week's court report. That's just an incredible job. San Jose State is never good, and they're actually more than respectable. They're above 500, and he's doing a great job. Boise State lost to the Spartans over the weekend. Other bubble teams on the wrong side of it. We mentioned Wisconsin. We mentioned New Mexico. Probably done. Okie State let one slip away at home late against Kansas State. Time to make it up, but should have had that W. Auburn put itself, in my opinion, in bubble territory. And before I continue with anything more, I just want a quick thought from you on this, because Kentucky's a lock now. I don't think there is any chance, and I'm a stickler for this. It has at least 3 games left. Even if it lost the 3 games that are remaining, SEC tournament game, home against Vandy, and GP, I don't have it up in front of me. I think Arkansas might be the other game. Even if it lost those, I can't figure out a way where it wouldn't get in the tournament. So it destroyed Auburn. Good on you, UK. You've found a groove, which is a great sign. Case and Wallace playing well. Reeves has continued to play well, and Sheba's putting together as well. I think Auburn's on the bubble. That was the worst loss by margin of defeat for this program in almost 5 years. Any quick commentary on Pearl's team? I don't know. We sometimes get these groups where they're in the tournament discussion for a long time, and then sometimes they just slip right off the bubble. Tigers kind of feel vulnerable to that.
Auburn has had strong to good computer numbers all season. Hadn't really done much all season. I mean, their 2 best wins are a neutral court Northwestern win in the 40s, the game in the 40s, back in November. I think Kermit Roosevelt Jr. was alive back then when that happened. And then they beat a shorthanded Arkansas in January. And that's it. That's the wins. That's what they've done.
I think they've got a domination of Missouri in there.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, that's fair. They did.
It's
They
a
beat,
solid win, but
they beat Missouri's brains in. That is a fact. But that wasn't a quadrant 1 win, because Missouri's 49th in the net, and that was played at Auburn. So Auburn right now 2-8 in quadrant 1, 8-9 in the first two quadrants, and they also have a quadrant 3 loss. I think they're on the right side of the bubble now, and I believe Jerry Palm would agree with me, but they're getting a little too close for comfort. And in your 2 biggest wins at this point in the season being Northwestern, or let's just say 3 biggest then, Northwestern, Missouri, and shorthanded Arkansas, ain't a lot there.
Agreed. Okay, 2 more items, and then we can move on. I've got 3 WTF scores. Oklahoma 61, Iowa State 50 at Iowa State.
Boy,
see, sometimes the Big 12 teams, I think they're going to get to the NCAA tournament, and either they're going to be bettered by the fact that they just went through the Big 12, or they just might be done. They just might, and I wonder if Iowa State is that kind of team.
Well, look at them last year.
That's a good point. They did. It was the exact opposite way, where it was this.
No,
but then
they struggled, and then boom, you look up and they're
they're
deep in the bracket.
They didn't quit. Nova 79, Creighton 67. Villanova won at Xavier, then beat Creighton. Eric Dixon had 31 points, the most in his college career, 6 3-pointers at Wells Fargo Center. Just notable with the Big East tournament right around the corner. Nova's going to start the tournament play on Wednesday, which has never happened since the Big East were formed. Maybe, just maybe, we'll have something there going. And then I admit I was with the kids. I didn't see a second of this game. Ohio State 72, Illinois 60. Explain yourself. Although what explaining needs to be done? You endorsed the team yet again on the last podcast. Tom Fornelli hates you. He never wants to talk to you again. He's going to put a pox upon your house. Illinois losing to Ohio State, which can't beat anyone. What happened?
I miss Fornelli so much. It's just a shame, you know?
He revived himself.
You have to, don't take anything for granted in this life. Cherish every moment. Because one day we lost Tom Fornelli. And, the next day it could be you. Not you, dead leg. But, it could be any of us, right?
That's troubling, man.
It could be any of us.
Maryland beat Northwestern 75-59. Good win by Maryland. Not too notable, but
they were favored to win the game. I did put Maryland. So just on some things you've touched on, Creighton and Iowa State, I both kicked out of the top 25 and won. I moved Maryland in. I moved. Who else did Duke? I moved Duke in. And Kentucky's right there. Like you mentioned earlier, I think Kentucky's off the bubble. Kentucky's closer to being ranked now than it is to. It is more likely that Kentucky enters the AP poll on Monday than it is that Kentucky now misses the NCAA tournament. Kentucky right now would be in my top 30. I didn't quite get them where their name shows up, but they're in my top 30.
All right, I have a small school note that I want to give you before that. The best matchup going into the weekend, we haven't even touched on. Baylor beat Texas, ended a 2-game skid, 81-72. Keontae George left with an ankle injury in the first half. It was actually a good sign for Baylor that Dale Bonner and Langston Love came off the bench. They combined for 24. Jalen Bridges had like one of his 3 best games in a Baylor uniform. So that's a good development. Texas, as you mentioned, drops behind Kansas. I guess we wait to see the status update on Keontae George. GPI was doing HQ stuff for prep, so I actually went to look this. I don't know if we even have one at the time of this podcast. Do we? Did you check? Do you know?
All I know is that he suffered an ankle injury early in the game, did not return, and people don't typically just bounce right back from that. Although, like Kendrick Davis left a game on crutches one week and was back playing the next.
Marcus Sasser looked like his season was over. And was
yeah, there's another one. Dude, I saw your tweet about Marcus Sasser, and I was like, oh, no. But by the time I saw your tweet, he was back. I like turned it on, and I was like, well, there's Marcus Sasser right there. What is that going on?
I was in the HQ offices, and like a lot of guys were responding to it, and they're like getting it ready, like to put it on the show if we needed to. I was like, send it to me. I'll tweet it out. This looks bad. So it took them like 4 minutes to cut it and send it to me. I send it out, and 2 minutes later, one of the guys in the room goes, he's back on the floor. I'm like, he's back? I'm like, what? I thought this was like, so anyway, we love to see it though. Marcus Sasser apparently fairly healthy. Hopefully that it wasn't just adrenaline and he's not swollen to all hell here on Sunday going into the week. Okay, small schools, then I'm going to shut up and I'm done. 3 small school notes. Congrats to Oral Roberts, Paul Mills. You know the school, you know the name, you know Max A. Smith's only team in college hoops to run the league and run the table in league play. They got it done. 18-0 in Summit League, 24-4 versus D1 teams. And the only loss in the past like 2.5 months was that impromptu scheduled game against New Mexico in January. That's the only loss for Oral Roberts. So that is a team that could probably 13 live, but maybe the 12 is not unthinkable. For the first time since 1996, Bradley has won the Missouri Valley regular season championship. Braves, shout out on the pod here, beat Drake by 12 at home.
First school ever named after a hip hop artist. People forget that.
Fair enough. Bradley's won 10 in a row as he gets ready for Arch Madness, the conference championship, which as always you can watch on CBS. That'll be next weekend. And then Antoine Davis dropped 34 over the weekend. He is now 63 points behind Pete Maravich's all-time scoring record. Horizon League tourney gets underway in 2 days. Realistically, Detroit needs 2 games. It's only got 1 right now, and it's a sub-500 team. It's not going to play another postseason stuff. Titans are the 8th seed in the Horizon. The 9 seed is Purdue Fort Wayne. That game is Tuesday night. Both those teams are 9-11 in league play. Davis went for 32 and 22 in his other 2 games against, what's the nickname? Fort Wayne?
The Mastodons.
There we go. The Mastodons. Top 10 moniker.
How did I know that? I didn't even know I knew that until I said it out loud.
Surprise yourself. Both times Detroit Mercy beat the Mastodons. See if they can go for 3. If they do, they would play Cleveland State on Thursday in the Horizon, and it's reasonable to conceive that we might have a new all-time leading scorer. We'll talk about that on the Wednesday pod just to remind you, give you a heads up, but Detroit's got to win on Tuesday. The scoring record is not the home run record in baseball or anything like that, but it has stood since Maravich, and as a reminder, as many people realize, Maravich did it with 3 years, 3 years to his name, and there was no three-point line. He will forever be the all-time leading points per game scorer in men's Division I history.
All right, before we get out of here, we'll look ahead real quick to the next couple, and I mean real quick.
Yep.
I mean super quick.
Just say the games and you can get the hell out of here.
On Monday, we got Baylor at Oklahoma State, West Virginia at Iowa State, North Carolina at Florida State, Nevada. You got to get that right. Nevada. It's not Nevada. It's Nevada. Nevada at Wyoming on CBS Sports Network. On Tuesday, Clemson at Virginia. We really need not that we're rooting for anything other than something to laugh at. That's all we're rooting. We just want something to laugh at. It would be hilarious if Virginia fell out of the top 30 in the net in North Carolina and went back to 0 quadrant 1 games. So I don't care who wins. I just want Virginia to perform at a level at which forces them to 31st in the net. All right? Help me out.
That would involve a loss, buddy.
They could. There's a scenario where they could win
by one. Win by one. Maybe. It's possible. Fair.
I don't know how I don't know how it works, but you can win a game and move down in the rankings. Yes. That's something that happens. Yes. So that's what I'm rooting for. Not because I'm anti for Virginia. I am pro North Carolina going back to 0 quadrant 1 wins because that's funny. NC State at Duke. Iowa at Indiana. Oh boy, they got the internet back in Indiana. Woo-hoo-hoo! I never seen so many people, fans of a team, pick to win the Big Ten and get all excited when they're
take it easy.
When they're
easy.
When they're in third place in the Big Ten. I never seen so many excited third place fans.
Don't instigate. Don't instigate.
In fairness, Maryland won today, which means whoever Maryland played lost Northwestern.
Yes.
So now Indiana is tied for second in the Big Ten standings in the final week of the regular season. I always thought if you were projected to finish first, you wouldn't be thrilled about second, but like whatever. Maybe I'm old school in that way. Anyway, the internet's working in Indiana. I can confirm it. All right. St. Louis at VCU. That's on CBS Sports Network. NC State at Duke.
You said that.
Duke is hosting NC State on Tuesday night. Villanova at Seton Hall. Texas Tech at Kansas. Arkansas at Tennessee. San Diego State at Boise State on CBS Sports Network. That's my Aztecs.
Game of the night.
Might be game of the night.
Yeah.
Michigan State at Pinnacle Bank.
Oh, gosh.
You know what they say. You never want to blow a 10-point lead with 40 seconds to go before you have to go to Pinnacle Bank, because that's how you end up with a 2-game losing streak.
That's what they do say.
That's a saying. I've heard that once. Nebraska's won 4 straight overall and 4 straight inside Pinnacle Bank, by the way, if you're not keeping track.
I'm going to need you to keep track because I promise you I will not. It feels like this is the last podcast of February, right?
I hope so.
I think so.
I hope so. Like that Kodak Black clip. You ever see that Kodak Black clip?
No.
He's with the Breakfast Club or something. He's wearing a mask, got his whole face covered. He's talking about this girl he met. And they're like, is she the one? Like, is this going to be the one? Makes you settle down? Something like that. He goes, I hope so. So if the question is, this is the last podcast of February, I hope so. Just call me Kodak Black. Like Kodak Black. Sometimes I feel like Kodak Black. We ready to go?
We're ready.
I think we were ready 45 seconds ago.
We are ready, and March is coming.
Shouts to Devin Downey. Shouts to Chester, South Carolina. Shouts to Huck. Shouts to Larnell. Thank you guys once again for listening to the Eye on College Basketball Podcast. If you're not subscribed, please go subscribe. Anywhere you subscribe to podcasts, including Apple and Spotify. At Apple, leave a nice review. 5 stars, type some words. There's more of us than there are of them. Somebody was in the comments saying John Wooden was one of them. Wouldn't surprise me, actually. Surprise me.
Would not surprise me either.
Not that I know. I'm just assuming Mick Cronin's one of us.
I think you would know.
I don't know. I've never talked to him about it. I will, though. I feel comfortable talking to Mick. Make sure he's one of us. I think he is. Somebody said John Wooden's one of them, which, if so, explains a lot. If you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, do that. And we're going to talk to you again no later than Wednesday. Till then.
Get ready.
Oh, you sound fired up.
You'll enjoy the next episode.
I won't. I'll be on 3 hours sleep. Bye.